Welcome to another episode of An Intimate Conversation with Women of Color. I am your host, Deneen L. Garrett, and today's guest is special because she is my tax preparer extraordinaire, Valaise Smith. She's a financial literacy expert. She is the CEO of Tried and True Financial Services. She's a speaker and an enrolled agent. Valaise, tell us more about you.
Well, thank you so much, first of all, Deneen, for having me on the show, Intimate Conversations with Women of Color. I'll tell you, when I received the invitation for this, my heart just smiled because as women of color, we go through so much, we do so much, we deal with so much. And so to sit down and have this intimate conversation with you about the things that affect women of color, especially when it comes to business ownership, is very important and near and dear to my heart, as we are both women of color in business. And so a little bit about me and my journey and how I got started. I just love all things finance, right? When I was growing up, my parents taught me to go to school, get a good job, good grades so that I could get a good job. And so that's what I did. And I think I achieved that goal. However, somewhere along the way, I got bit by the entrepreneurial bug. And that's how I started on my journey into entrepreneurship, because it's so much happening. It's so much that the world can offer. And I just want to make sure that I die empty. My goal is to hear God say, "Well done, thy good and faithful servant." And so I am trying to make sure that I share all of my gifts and talents with people as I come across them. And my target market is special because I target women of color. In my business, my target audience is women of color. Now, I'll help everybody, I'll help anybody, but my focus, my heart is on women of color because I am one. And so I can very easily speak to that audience because I live it, I breathe it, I am immersed in it each and every day. And so I'm happy to serve in that capacity. I have an undergraduate degree in finance, pursuit of a bachelor's of business administration in finance. And then that transitioned me into the world of finance, worked in corporate for over 2 decades before I decided to take the leap of faith and transition over into entrepreneurship. I am a mother of a young woman. She is a young woman of color. My daughter is 34 years old. She's graduated from Howard University, has her undergrad in finance as well. So I always say my return on investment is on fleek because she is doing her thing.
Okay.
I'm a grandmother to a 5-year-old rambunctious little boy. And another little known fact about me that a lot of people are surprised to hear is that I like riding motorcycles. So I'm a biker chick.
Okay. I think I might remember that from last year.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So, I love that. I love that your daughter followed in your footsteps, right? So it's obvious that you lived a life where you led by example, you showed and proved, and she saw that was something she was interested in and pursued that. So that's beautiful, right? That's a beautiful testament to you and how you're living your life. So let's talk about how to build business credit lines to ensure access to capital to grow business.
Yes. Well, again, that's a subject that's near and dear to my heart because Tried and True is established to help entrepreneurs with the ABCs of finance to simplify their accounting, budgeting, and credit processes. So in the credit space, we help entrepreneurs build business credit. I say all the time, cash is king and credit is queen, and you need both to win. And so I always tell entrepreneurs that you want to make sure that you go ahead and start building your business credit for your business in the beginning, even from a startup, very foundational, because the same way we give our business its own name, the same way we get an EIN number, that's like our social security number for our business. It has its own EIN. It has its own bank account separate from ours. It needs to have its own credit. A lot of times, small business owners end up bootstrapping, right? Using their own finances to build their business. There's nothing wrong with that. or a lot of times they're, trying to get funding or grants or different things like that. But building business credit from a very foundational level will help us get access to crack capital that we need to grow our business, so that you don't have to use your own money, so that you don't have to ruin your own personal credit because you're running up your credit line, much higher than you would normally from a personal perspective. So when you start building business credit in the very beginning, even if you have to use a personal guarantee, you want to make sure that you have good personal credit, because you may have to guarantee your business credit in the beginning stages, but you want to ultimately build business credit so you can create that separation from your personal life and what you're doing from your business life and what's happening over in the business world, so that you create that separation so that your LLC or whatever type of corporate liability protection you have in place is effective, right? Because if you're constantly commingling, then that's going to give rise to that there's no separation between you and your business. And so the main thing about building business credit is you want to build a foundation where you can show that your business can make its payments, that your business is profitable, that you have income coming in, and that you can pay back. Your payment history is the number one thing when it comes to building business credit. So I have a program, our building business credit consulting program. I typically ask my clients for a 12-month commitment, because it does take time. There's no such thing as a magic wand. A lot of times you hear people out here saying they can get you business credit in 30, 60, 90 days. It doesn't happen like that. It takes time. And so I ask for a 12-month commitment. I take them through a 6-month coaching program where we go through 6 steps. The first 2 steps are very foundational steps where we make sure that the foundation is there. We make sure that you have your business name. We make sure that you have a business address. We make sure that you have a business telephone number, one that can be listed with 411, that you have a website, that you're showing your business as reputable out in the marketplace. Because anybody, if you come and ask me to borrow some money and I know you don't have no job, I'm gonna be like, how you gonna pay me back? Right. Where is it coming? And so the vendors that's lending the lenders, they want to know where the money is coming from. They want to know that you're going to be able to repay on that obligation as promised. And so you have to make sure that you're running a profitable business, but you also want to make sure that you have all of your I's dotted and your T's crossed as it pertains to showing up as a legit business. And then that's those 2 foundational steps. And then the other 4 steps are really just digging in and getting accounts with vendors that we know, that we vetted, that actually report to the credit reporting agencies. Because business credit is a little bit different than personal credit. Your personal credit is governed by the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Business credit is not. FCRA. And basically what that means, when personal credit is governed by the Fair Credit Reporting Act, if you apply for credit and they deny you for whatever reason, you always get a letter in the mail saying, hey, unfortunately, we couldn't extend credit to you because of X, Y, and Z. And they have to tell you why. Well, on the business credit side, business credit is not regulated by the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So if you apply for business credit and they deny you, they don't have to tell you why. So you don't know. You have no idea. Maybe it's because there's some missing links in those first 2 foundational steps. Or it may be because you have credit with a vendor that is not reporting to the credit reporting agencies and you have no idea as to why. And so it's very important to understand and know those little nuances, those little nuggets as you're building business credit, that ultimately, even if they do ask for a personal guarantee, it's not the end of the world, right? Because at the end of the day, we are promoting responsible use of credit. Nobody's going out trying to get credit that they're not going to pay. So was it going to hurt for you to offer a personal guarantee? It's not going to show up on your personal credit unless you default. And we're not defaulting because we're running profitable multi-million dollar companies. And
Right.
if we're not there, that's where we're on our way to.
I love
Right.
that.
But
So,
I think it's very important because you can get higher limits, and it's separate. It's not going to run up your utilization on your personal credit when you have business credit. It's totally separate. So creating that separation is critically important, in my opinion.
and so for a small business owner, a small woman of color, Black owned business, would you say the main two reasons to have business credit is one, to have a higher limit? And really, I guess that was probably what, is that the main one, is to have a larger credit, access to credit, or
That is
more credit.
definitely that is definitely one of the critical elements. Of course, creating that separation is very, very key in my book because I know a lot of times I see a lot of commingling, and I try to encourage people to stop the commingling as much as possible. But definitely you are afforded because they understand and know that you're a business, and businesses need larger lines of credit. And so you're likely to get higher lines of credit through business funding than you are on the personal side. Absolutely.
Okay, so the podcast is about elevating the voices of women of color, empowering us. So just the work that you do, having that foundation, having that established business credit, how can this impact women of color tapping into their power and voice?
Yes, this is huge because what it does is it's gonna move us forward faster. Right, it's going to move us forward faster. All of the dreams and hopes and aspirations and ideals and visions that we have in our mind and our thought process that we want to get out, a lot of times where our growth is stunted because we don't have the capital to move those agendas forward, to move those ideals forward. So business credit definitely ties directly into it. And just it's so important to manage your finances well overall, which is why we're laser focused on the ABCs of finance, the accounting, the budgeting, the bookkeeping, and the credit, because all of those three go hand in hand. You want to make sure that you're staying compliant with your tax filing. You want to make sure that you're maximizing your deductions, getting, paying the least amount of tax possible. You want to make sure that your budget is tight and that your bookkeeping system is in place so that when you do go to get funding, you have the critical financial documents that they're asking for. You're up to date on your tax filings. You have your financials, and you can give them the information that they need so that the answer is yes, not right now, not no, not you got to go back and do anything. You want to be proactive and put those things in place so that you can continue to move forward, because it's nothing like a setback. I mean, of course, we can overcome those obstacles when we encounter them. But at the end of the day, if we're more proactive as opposed to reactive, we can go so much further and let our voices be heard. And women of color are starting businesses at exponential rates. Yes. And I know you've heard it said that a lot of times small businesses fall within the first 5 years. And one of the main reasons is poor cash flow management or access to capital. And we're established Tried and True Financial Services to mitigate that, to minimize that, to abolish that, so that we can continue to move forward with the gifts and talents that we have on the inside of us so that we can impact the world. We're world changers.
I love that. I love that. Yes, we are world changers. Yes. So, you dropped a lot of knowledge, and I want to make sure that people know that they can access you. So in the show notes will be all ways to reach Valaise, to reach Tried and True. So rest assured you'll be able to connect with her and, build relationships. So I want to pivot a bit. I honor my late sister, author and poet Soul True, by asking about Dreams Deferred, which is the title of one of her books. Please share a Dreams Deferred moment.
Oh, wow. So I'm trying to make this long story short. But I want to say that one of my dreams deferred moment was definitely tied to tried and true financial services. I mentioned earlier that my parents raised me to go to school, get good grades so that I can get a good job. So entrepreneurship was never really on my radar. I picked that nugget up along the way. So I always worked in corporate. When I got my undergraduate degree, I was already in corporate, but I just continued in building, my corporate resume, if you will. Well, a company that I was working for, I had been working with them for over a decade, ended up going out of business. And I had been with them, like I said, over a decade. I was very comfortable. I was very spoiled. They took really good care of me. If they were still open today, I'd still be there. But God knows what we need and when we need it. And so they ended up going out of business. And I was spoiled. So I couldn't see myself brushing up my resume, going out to look for another job. So I didn't. I had already been, I love all things finance, right? So I had already been doing income tax preparation on the side, just as a little side hustle for friends and family, because I wanted to learn more about taxes. So I went and took an income tax course. That led into a part-time seasonal job. I was doing that for a little while and then just was doing it for friends and family. I was not promoting it. It was not a business. I was doing it for a love offering. Just love doing it. And so I was working in corporate. I was working for this financial services company, and I was doing their back office reconciliation for a book of investment portfolio in excess of $1 billion. And so when they went out of business, and I couldn't see myself going out to get another job, brushing up my resume to go out and get another job, I didn't. I launched Tried and True Financial Services, and I married the income tax skill set that I had with the portfolio reconciliation that I was doing for corporate. And I married the two of those, and I launched Tried and True Financial Services. In the beginning, just offering taxes and bookkeeping. Over the years, I've expanded to tax planning and credit, those types of things. But I launched Tried and True Financial Services in January of 2015. And then a friend of mine knew what was going on with the company that was going out of business, came, tapped me on the shoulder, was like, hey, I know about this opportunity, this company, and they need your skill set. And I think you will be a great fit. You should check it out. So I went ahead and I interviewed for the position. They loved me. They extended me an offer. I accepted it. And within 30 days of me launching my business, I went back into corporate. Long story short, my dream was deferred because I was on a path to entrepreneurship. I let fear set in and force me into corporatepreneurship. And so for the first 7 years of Tried and True Financial Services inception, I operated as a corporatepreneur, working a full-time job, doing the business on the evenings and the weekend. And that was my dream deferred moment, because instead of me giving Tried and True 110% for the first 7 years, I was giving my corporate job 100%, and Tried and True was getting a leftover. And my dream was deferred. But in 2022, the Great Recession came along, and I decided to participate, and I no longer wanted to let my dream lie dormant or, on the sidelines. And so I told corporate goodbye, and now I'm working full time in the business, and I love it. And so now my dream is flourishing. It's no longer deferred.
I love that. Congratulations to you. Congratulations
Thank you.
for taking that full-time step to realize your dream fully. And so that's where we're going to pivot. So I empower women of color to live a dream lifestyle. What does living a dream life mean to you? And other than going full-time into your business, how are you living a dream life?
Well, my dream life consists of, I say all the time, relationships are the new currency.
Yes.
I wholeheartedly believe it.
Yes.
And we have to tap into, I believe we're coming off, coming on the other side of a national pandemic, something that none of us have seen in our lifetime. And I think that COVID-19 caused all of us to pause and really assess what matters most to us in life, because we lost a lot in COVID. We learned a lot in COVID. And some of us outlived COVID. And for those of us that outlived COVID, if you didn't stop and pause to consider what matters most in life, yeah. So that for me, that's it. Living my dream is knowing what matters most to me. It's my family, it's my friends that I hold near and dear. And so it's creating those boundaries in life, creating those boundaries around um, balancing the business or working, trying to make a living and really pausing, stopping, enjoying the moment and spending time with the people that you love the most. And not to mention self-care.
Yeah.
Self-care is huge. And so we have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves before COVID. And I'm not going to that's a whole nother story, maybe for another segment. Maybe you'll invite me back. Maybe your audience will want to hear some more about part of my journey and my testimony. But my brand color started out as blue and gray and white. I ended up popping the pink in there because I'm a breast cancer survivor. So in 2019, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I'm here today. Woo woo.
Yes.
And so I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2019. And that even was a wake up call for me. But before I could get on my healing journey from that, then COVID happened. Mm-hmm. And so for the past 3-4 years, I've had a huge awakening, eye-opening, experience as to what matters most and making sure that I cultivate and nurture the relationships. And my squad, they showed up for me. You know what I'm saying? I know who love me. And it's a lot of folks. There's a lot of folks that love me because they showed up for me and they cared for me and got me through that tough time. And so just living my dream is making sure that I can spend time with the people that I love, that I know love me, with my daughter, with my grandson, my immediate family, my extended family, and I meet wonderful people like you along the way. And I look forward to us continuing to cultivate our relationships because relationship, it is the new currency.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely, I tell my son all the time, I said, it is who you know, and more importantly is who knows you. And so, that's deep. It's, you talked about nuances. That is a bit of a nuance, right? Because you can know people, but when they know you and they know, that you're a good person, a caring person, that you're giving, all of those things, that makes a definite difference. So before we wrap, what would you like to leave the audience with?
What I would like to leave the audience with is that it's really important to make sure that you're taking care of your business. It's like I said before, it's important to make sure that you're managing your finances well. It's tax season. Make sure that you don't become a victim of fraud or negligence. Make sure that you're working with a reputable tax professional. Make sure, I talk to people all the time, and I'm still hearing that people are submitting tax returns where there's no tax professional listed. The tax professionals are not listing their names. They're not listing their PTINs. That's a red flag. I know taxes is not a sexy subject. It's not the most popular subject. Nobody wants to talk about taxes. Nobody wants to do their taxes, but it's a very important subject. Make sure you get your IPPN number up on the IRS website so that you can protect yourself. Make sure you set up your online account. Make sure that you stay accurate and current and up to date, because anytime you have a tax bill, the tax burden that comes along with penalties and interest that's accruing on any unpaid balance is higher than the worst credit card that you could have. So don't ignore. I know it's not, like I said, a fun topic, but just make sure that you embrace it. Make sure that you focus on it. Make sure that you do your due diligence to take care of your finances, because the only way that us as women of color can continue to project our voices and make a mark in this world is to make sure that we're taking care of our finances well, so that we can continue, because money is just a resource.
Absolutely.
It's just a resource. And so if we make sure that we're taking care of the things that we need to take care of, so that's not something that we have to think about. We can continue to allow our dreams and our visions to flourish as women of color. that's what I would leave the audience with. Take care of your business. Make sure you file your taxes on time.
I love that. Thank you so much, Valaise Smith. Thank you so much for sharing your voice, lending your voice on an intimate conversation with women of color, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.